Hey, Cindy Gould here from Create Your Victorious Life. We want to welcome you back and welcome you to the Spanglish World Networks on Zingo TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Zingo TV app on the respective app stores for either iOS or Android devices. While you download, by all means, leave us a stellar comment and a great rating and tell us how amazing everything is. And, especially the fact that this app is totally free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire and Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, Smart TVs 216 and 2016 and forward. And today, I kind of went through that really quick because I'm so excited that I get to be on the show today with my sissy from another Missy, Yayoi Komiyama. She is the founder of Brain to Belly. She has been a Brain to Belly coach, I would say probably for over 20 years. And has quite a compelling story as to how she got there. And recently we've talked a bit about like frequency and being in tune and being in alignment, and all of that plays into this whole brain to belly, this 10-inch space between here and your heart, and then you go further all the way to your belly, and it's just amazing. So I am thrilled. We are on right now we're not on two sides of the world. Usually we're on completely opposite
On the
ends of the
same,
planet,
yeah,
actually in the same time zone as your girlfriend. But so thank you so much, Yayoi, for joining us today.
of course. Thank you for having me, Cindy. Gosh,
Yes,
I'm really excited. Yes,
I am too. I'm super
yeah.
excited. And and we talked a little bit about, well, where do we want to start? Well, I'm going to start in an interesting spot. Um on purpose. This A few weeks ago, it marked the third anniversary, I would say, of my sweet son Mana's return home to heaven. And that was August 7th. And you are returning to Japan because you have a similar, not similar event, but another loved one that has moved back home to heaven. And that's your uncle, correct?
Yes, yes. My uncle, who um, who passed away at 94.
Yeah. And I think about that, and he was a fairly healthy person,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah.
his whole life.
Hmm.
My dad lived almost to 90, which was fantastic, and was pretty healthy also. And I think about a couple of things came up for me while I was thinking into this. One of them was just even the longevity of that piece, which I'd love to talk a little bit about from a health standpoint. And then the other one is the process of grieving from the different stages and the different relationships, and how that plays an effect on our brain to belly
Wow. Yeah,
piece. Yeah, because it really does,
it
right?
does.
And
It does.
yeah, and so let's talk a little bit first though about just being stinking healthy. I mean, like you and I have talked about like the blue zone communities. I
Yes.
mean, Singapore's one. There's a community in California, I think it's Loma Linda, one of those, where it's predominantly, I believe, a community of Seventh Day Adventists that live almost a vegan lifestyle, I think.
Hmm.
And they're the blue zone means that there are more centurions, people that live past 100
Yes.
in that community, and that it's documented. I think there's a community also in Spain or Italy. Um, you know,
Italy. Hmm.
yeah. Well, and in Singapore, uh, it blows my mind. Like they actually, the government pays you money to live nearby or even in the same home as another, like your senior family members. They
Oh,
actually, yeah,
how
because it,
smart.
right, and also to exercise and to eat healthy,
Yeah.
and there's certain things that a lot of these centurions do that
Hmm.
really keep them that healthy.
Yes.
So what kind of tips would you give our audience that you just that want to kind of stick around for a while?
Well, I want to stick around to over 100,
over,
and
over
that's
120.
yeah, yeah. I always say that to anyone and everyone that would listen to me, but and I think it's really well. First and foremost, of course, try to live as healthy as you can, and you know what's good for you and what's not good for you. Like, some people say, they don't know, but you know when you're eating things that aren't probably going to be as healthy for you, or you know that when your doctor says don't eat this, right? Because it's not good for your health, and yet you still do it. I'm like, come on. I mean, it's up to you, and then so if you're going to do that, that's fine, right? But don't complain later is what I want to say.
Right, right.
And I think it's also, getting your fruits and vegetables in. The 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. I'm really adamant about that because there are so many people in this world that don't have the minimum servings of fruits and vegetables a day.
Right.
Because your diet should be predominantly based on that. And also, those are the healthier, real foods, as
Mhm.
I say.
Right,
Um, the processed stuff that we eat, sometimes we don't have a choice but to have the processed stuff sometimes. And
right,
that's okay. But
right,
don't make that a everyday thing.
right.
Um, and I think it's really, trying to eat real food. And the main thing, though, is having that positive attitude
Mhm.
and having that mindset of gratitude.
Yep.
That is the main thing because everyone I know, my grandpa lived to 100, and he was always grateful. I mean, he had illnesses, all the way to the end. I mean, at one point, I'm sorry, Grandpa, for telling the whole world this, but he had a colostomy bag for several years, right?
Right,
And but he still lived to 100. He still wanted to live. He went out for his walks every day. He did his little bits of exercise. He wrote in his journal every single day. And those little activities to
right,
use your brain,
right,
to reflect on what happened during the day and to write it down. Those activities really stimulate your brain and it stimulates your motor skills as well.
right.
So that keeps it healthy. And my uncle, who just passed away, he was a composer, music composer of modern Japanese music. And of course, he also plays the piano.
Mm.
So that's also, motor
Yeah,
skills, right? And your brain.
yeah,
And he was composing up, I mean, really up until recently.
right,
And it's really, and also the gratitude piece. All of them had that piece of that, counting their blessings, saying, I lived this long. Yeah, I've had these illnesses, but I'm here. I want to contribute to the world. Um, and even if it's just to your family, it's really about the positive attitude about this is my life right now. What can I do?
right,
I can look at something negatively, focus on all the negativity or all the things that aren't working for me, or I can focus on what's working for me.
right, right.
And, I've adopted that because I learned that from both my parents, but especially from my mother, who was, she had, something called polycystic kidneys, and she was on dialysis for more than 20 years.
Right,
And she would say to me, I don't like going to dialysis, but if I don't do it, I'm going to die. So, you know, I got to do it. And then while she's doing it, she'll be listening to different things, books on tape. She'll be listening to well, at the time they were radio shows, not podcasts, but, she would be listening to these things that lifted her spirits up.
right.
And I think that was really important. And I think it was close to in her mid 70s is when she learned how to use a computer. She went to actual computer school.
That's
This
so
little old lady learning how to use the computer. It was amazing.
that's so cute. There's a lot of things that when you were talking, I wrote some notes down because
Yes.
as brain health coaches, both you and I know to eat the rainbow. And
Yes.
And there's a reason why. And with the photosynthesis and things that are within our food, and the things, the light that's infused in our food, when we're eating the light, then we feed the light that's in our body. And
Yes.
people don't think about things in technical terms. They think, a lot of times, not everybody, but a lot of times people think, oh my gosh, it's 6:30, I've got to get home, I've got to bathe the kids, I've got to do this. Taco Bell, McDonald's, right? What's the fastest? And there's no rainbow there. Hot sauce, right? A little bit of tomato, a little bit of lettuce, all of it has preservatives, right? I mean, it's kind of like, and you think about that, or those things, and it really isn't fuel for our bodies. And I
No.
think about the blue zone communities, and
Yes.
one of the things you said to me, which is a common theme in all of them. There's a few things. One of them is your mindset, the positive attitude, the whatever you put your attention on.
Yes.
As I think, so I
So I feel.
feel.
Yes.
When you think it, when you feel it, it's like turning the engine on, and then you start to create, your body starts to emit either chemicals or frequencies that are going to create something within your body and
Yes.
in your field and in your environment, right?
Yes.
And so when you do all of that, then if you're thinking positive, if you're journaling, like you said, journaling is important. What you write, you invite.
Yep.
But also, I would say, as a daughter, my father, as you know, moved back home to heaven as well. And I have really cool siblings. And so when we were going through all of my dad's belongings, we just hold something up. Who wants this? Who wants that? And there was no bickering. I mean, there's like, seven of us kids total. I know, it was great, right? I wanted my dad's journal. And because I
Oh,
had come across it when we were cleaning, and I was like, oh my gosh, my dad wrote in a journal. Like, I didn't even know, right? And I was so grateful that I was able to have that. But it was so, I remember the specific days that he wrote certain things. I remember the events that he was referencing,
wow.
and what he was writing about, his feelings about that event or that
Wow.
thing. And yeah, right.
So
And
magical.
it was so magical for me. And on top of all of that, even the gratitude piece, because again, what you give your attention to is what you create in your
Yes.
world. So
Yes.
when you live in a constant state of gratitude, and I'm so grateful for, fill in the blank,
Right.
right? Then you continue to see from a lens of blessing. You
Yes.
continue to, and the people
Yes.
that I know, including my father, that lived to be of an older age, they lived in that constant state. Like my father, it was interesting watching him, because both my parents actually, and I'm so grateful my mom is still here with us, and she's kicking butt. That's just my mother. But what I they live in this wonderful state of gratitude all the time. And my father, it was almost like, who can I bless today? Like, that was what he woke up with.
Wow.
And every day, that's what he did. He would just look for ways to be a blessing.
Yeah.
And when I think about that, and then I put that with, like, living, right? And the way that we live now. You live in New York City, and wouldn't it be interesting and fun if there were people that were walking, because I mean, please, where you walk your dog how many times a day in these, like sardines, so many people
Well,
everywhere.
it's not quite sardines, but I guess from your perspective, definitely.
Yeah, the girl that lives in the country, right?
Yeah.
With pine trees and
Right.
deer and
Right. I mean,
eagles.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I walk out my building. I mean, even in the elevator, I might see somebody, right?
Mhm.
In my building, I have my doorman. I have people that I see, other residents. If I walk, yeah, definitely. I'm always seeing somebody.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just try to say hi. And if I can't say hi, I just give a little nod or smile or whatever.
Right, right.
And yeah, that's, just because I want to feel good and
Yeah.
I'm feeling good anyway. So I might as well share my energy with people. And if they can't take it, then that's their problem, not mine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you know what? This is what I love what you just said because it kind of leads me to our next point that I wanted to bring out
Yes.
is you either nod, smile, whatever. Basically what you're saying is you're connecting.
Yes.
And connection is one of those other things that helps people to stay put on this
Yes.
planet longer,
Yes.
because they're
Definitely.
connected. When I mentioned earlier about Singapore, one of the things that's so cool, and all these other communities that have the centurions that live there, is that they have multi generations living within the homes,
Yes.
usually,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much respect and honor. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
like it is in certain pockets, maybe in the US, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And it's so cool because that connection matters. I remember when everybody was sequestered a few years ago, and living in such awful isolation, and a lot of the seniors are the people that I was really concerned about because you know they couldn't even have some of their caregivers come and
Right.
do, and take care of them. And
Right.
that was, or like there's a program in the US called Meals on Wheels,
Yes.
and
Yes.
where it isn't just about people bringing food to, people, but it's really about them connecting and hanging
Yes.
out and loving on them.
Yes.
And we have a mutual friend, who's another sissy for me from another Missy, Doc Weber,
Yes.
Dr. Josephine Weber, who's a dentist in San
Yes.
Francisco, and she has a mobile dental. And she'll tell me about all these people that she goes and they can't make it to her dentist office. So she'll go and treat them in their homes. And most of them, aren't capable of going anywhere.
Yeah.
She says it's not just about doing the filling or the extraction or whatever. It's really about touching them and connecting and
Exactly.
just loving on them. So, from a standpoint of that, I would love for you to share maybe the importance, in your opinion, of connection and how that plays a role in the brain to belly.
It plays everything. I mean, it's everything because we as humans need connection. You
Mhm.
know, whether definitely in person is a lot better than virtual, but still virtual, if you can't get it, then virtual is just as good, almost as good, because you're still connecting with people. You're
Right,
connecting with an organization, or you're building a community. Like I know a lot of my community is spread out across the world. And you and I especially, I mean, I love you to death, but you're over on the West Coast most of the time.
yeah,
And so it's, we try to connect by phone, by internet, like that. And, a couple times a year we get to see each other and we're like, ah, right? But um and the thing is, I mean, I think that's the modern world right now.
right.
And but the connections, keeping those connections,
Mhm,
keeping those interactions with other beings,
mhm.
it's so important because that's what fuels your soul. And a lot of issues with food and relationship with food, usually we turn to food because there's something we're craving, an emotion,
Right,
not the food itself, but that emotion that's associated with the food.
right, right,
And yeah, so that's where a lot of it comes from. And I know for myself, I mean, that's how I started my whole journey was, I was crying as a baby and my mom said to the nanny, and she even said herself, oh, let's just feed her so that she'll be quiet, right?
right.
And it wasn't because she was like mean or anything. It was just
No,
that she was busy, she needed to take care of other things, and I was crying up a storm, and I know I could be very, very annoying. So, she probably thought that, okay, maybe if she eats something, she'll calm down, right? And
right.
that's, I do that with my dog sometimes, right? You know,
That's
um,
normal.
yeah, and it's that emotion. So I connected an emotion, love, or, you know, comfort with the food.
Mhm, mhm.
And usually when we turn to food, sometimes they'll have like a huge meal but let's say you were having an argument with somebody while you were eating. Let's say, for example, first of all, you're not going to feel satisfied because you're not really eating the food. You're not really tasting the food or enjoying it.
Right.
And then you'll get back home and you're like, I'm still hungry.
Yep.
But is that, what kind of hunger is that, is the
Right.
question. Is
So
it, yeah.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no. It's the difference between physical hunger or is it the emotional hunger?
Well, and hunger for what? For connection. I
Yeah.
mean, it's for what we're talking about. I think
Yep.
so. Here's what's interesting because when you were sharing about your mom, like, okay, feed her, right? Well, I breastfed my kids, and all three of I breastfed my children until they were a year old, and
Mm-hmm.
it was the wisest thing I ever did. However, whenever they would be like, plug them in, you know what I mean? It was like so easy, swaddle plug and keep doing what I was doing, right?
Right. Right.
Because that was the way that you soothed. It didn't even occur to me. Now, granted, breast milk is the best thing for them. But
Right.
it did not occur to me though that that was setting them up for later, right? And so I fast forward to a situation for myself. So in my 40s, I had um, gotten pregnant unexpectedly and then miscarried unexpectedly. I was about 6 months pregnant, and it just kind of set off a series of sadness in me.
Yes.
Now, here's what's interesting. I am kind of a bloom where you're planted, kind of girl, and just, you just keep going for it. And I stay in a pretty consistent state of joy or, that kind of thing. But deep inside, I was like, because you go through this, there's no freaking way I'm going to have a grandchild and a baby at the same time. And then you get excited, like, let's make a nursery, right? And then things happen, and then that doesn't happen. And I didn't realize. And so what happened is we went before I was pregnant, we were like 2 a day at the gym people, Gold's Gym, lifetime members, up at 4, at the gym in the morning, start your day off phenomenally. After dinner, go to the gym, do some cardio. And it wasn't like this insane thing. It was just a lifestyle that was fun, and some people go for
Yep.
walks after dinner and
Yep.
go to the gym. So 2 a days, get pregnant, not doing 2 a days anymore, doing lighter stuff, miscarry, not doing any gym, right? Which would have been wonderful for me if I would, because I would have worked a lot of that grief and sorrow out,
Right.
right? Of
Yeah.
everywhere. And I didn't. And here's what happened. So then 100+ pounds later, right? And my eating habits, of course, were in the toilet. And it wasn't that I was eating massive amounts of food either. I wasn't eating nutritional, I wasn't fueling my body correctly.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
wasn't fueling my engine
Mm-hmm.
right. And I would eat at all different times of the day, and I would just blah blah blah, whatever. And those of you who are watching who have done this, here's what's so great, because for me, and I tell people, whatever you have to do to get healthy, whatever works for you. It doesn't matter if you do proven ketones, or if you're doing isogenics, or if you're intermittent fasting and you're doing all those things
Right.
together, if you go get bariatric surgery, or have lipo, whatever is true for your heart
Yep.
and for you, right?
Yep. Exactly.
So, and so for me though, I started, like even training and doing different things. And I did, do some metabolic things, and actually went out of the country and did some things which were wonderful for me. Here's what's so interesting. My son Nicholas, when I would fast, like juice fast, Yayoi, 18 days straight, just
Wow.
juice, eat a bite of rice, gain some weight. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Right. Until one day Nicholas said to me, and I'm not exaggerating, that literally happened. And one day Nicholas said to me, he said, well, Mom, it's just sad fat. Now, yeah, right. And I was like, wait, what did he just say to me? And it zinged me, not in a bad way, in such a revelation.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, no kidding, right?
Yep.
And so what I had to do was, and I said, I'm saying all this to get to this point. I had to really heal
Yes.
what was going on in here, like you said, brain to belly, right?
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
to get to your belly, you have to go through your heart,
Yes.
and there's a physical brain in your heart,
Yes.
physical. And so all of that had to be healed. And the more that I had forgiveness, the more that I let go of sorrow and sadness,
Hmm.
the more it would not only go away, but stay away. So fast forward to when Mana, when my son, in 3 years ago, when he moved back home to heaven,
Right.
I was concerned. I thought, if ever I'm going to be sad, right? And I thought, oh no, what am I going to do? Here's what was so great. And I say that to share this. I didn't gain any weight back at all. Not, I mean, you've seen me the whole time. I mean,
Yes.
and I'm in pretty good shape. What's interesting is it showed me where I had healed.
Yes.
And this is the part that was most important for me. Where I really did the most healing was in loving myself,
Yeah.
connecting to me,
Hmm.
and having forgiveness for anything in my life where I had made choices that weren't completely in alignment with
Hmm.
who I really am or my own values, right?
Yes. Yes.
And
Exactly.
or even where I felt like I wasn't the greatest mom during certain seasons of my life, or I wasn't the greatest me, I mean, so, and you don't know how bad you feel till you feel good,
Yes.
right?
That is so
And
true.
so, right. And so I remember during that season, and I say this for anybody who's grieving, because this is what really helped me. The very week that all that happened with my son, my concern was, of course, it was at the height of COVID stuff. And I thought, oh my gosh, I need to keep my own immunity up. I've got the rest of my family to take care of, and
Right.
to make sure that everybody's okay, that kind of thing. And so I went and I went to my naturopath and had him, beef up my vitamins and my supplements. And I did a regimen that was really good for me and healthy. And I invite anybody to really connect with your heart and with your
Yes.
mind, because like you
Yes.
said at the very beginning,
You
you know
know.
what works for you. Like some of you could eat, I want to say, like poke and lao lao and poi all day long, and that that's like your jam, and you're gonna hum. And
Yes.
others of you can eat spaghetti, and that's
Thing. Yeah.
right.
Exactly. And like I always say, one size doesn't fit all. Each of us has a different, each of our bodies are different. I mean, just like our fingerprints are different, right?
Yes,
We're different, and what's going to affect one person or what's going to work for one isn't necessarily going to work for the other,
right.
because we're all made up a little differently,
Yep.
and we have different habits, we have different activity levels as well, and we also have a different diet history. And I hate that word, but we have, this history of the way we treated our bodies up until
Right.
now. So
Right.
that's also going to affect, how your body's going to respond to
Mhm.
whatever you do to it.
Yes. Oh, so good. Even when you say that, did you take diet pills, or did you, do the shot thing, or did you take a lot of laxatives? I have a friend that, well, she wasn't really a friend, more of an acquaintance, that, she would, when she was hungry, she would just put a strip of mustard on her finger, and just that would give her like the salty whatever taste. And then but she got to a place where she struggled with throwing up, and with her whole body image,
Yeah,
to where her body on command, she could just bend over,
yeah,
and then she finally was able to get a hold of that and heal, and now helps a lot of other people that have, because she understood what it did. But her history, right, is her story,
yes.
right? And the same with yours, the same with mine. And like
Hmm.
you said, it's not a one size fits all.
No, no.
But I would really invite people to do the things that you said in the beginning, like the gratitude pieces, the journaling pieces, the why am I so amazing pieces, look in the mirror, like you and I do the whole mirror exercise, and you do the whole in the morning in your victory pose, and all the cool things that you do, and but those are the things that get your engine going in the morning, right?
Yep. And that sets me up for a fabulous day.
Yes.
Um, and like, doing my gratitude journal at the before I go to sleep, no matter how tired I am. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm like, sometimes I'm like, ah, screw this. But then I'm like, no, no, no. I promised myself I would do it, so I will do it, right? And I
Mhm.
just write it, and I just write, I'm like half falling asleep and writing in my journal, but it's okay. I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
And but then that sets me up, like when I go to sleep, I'm in a good frame of mind when I'm going to sleep as well. And
Yeah.
then when I get up, I'm like, "Yay!" Right? I got up from one right? And then I'm like, "Okay, now I've got opportunities to do different things throughout the day." Like today,
Right.
I was like looking forward to this interview, right? I was like, "Yay, I get to spend time with my buddy," and you know and
Yeah.
then I was also, going out with my dog, and I love spending time with my doggie because she's my little baby,
Mhm.
and I get to go to the park, and I love going to the parks, the different parks in my neighborhood, looking up at the trees, looking up at the sky, and thank goodness there's no rain this week, right?
Right.
So it's a little humid, but still it's still nice enough that I could go out and walk with her. And I take it for, like last summer, I had my I had my fractured ankle, and I was in a boot,
Okay.
and I had a concussion. So I had to be extra careful, and I couldn't walk without a cane the whole summer. I think it was
Oh,
in September that I got the boot off and I could stop to all that, right?
yep.
Today I was walking and I was thinking, gosh, last summer I couldn't even walk like this or even jog with the pups, right?
Right.
And those are
Right.
just gratitude. It's like, wow, I've come this far. And then
Mhm.
I was like, yay for me, right? And I'm doing this and I'm like, okay. And then I'm thinking, is anyone seeing me?
Right? Good, let them see. I totally am with you. Like, I travel a lot, and I'm in different airports, and I was a part of that wonderful, Microsoft whatever happened a month ago, and, the cancel because I was on the phone with
Yes,
you,
yes,
cancellations, but here's what's so funny is it worked out perfectly, and then I ended up getting to spend time driving to a different airport that was a few hours away with somebody who's precious and dear to me, Benu's son Connor, and we got to hang out and chat, and that was super fun. And then because he was gracious enough to take me, and it worked out. But what's so great is, and I was at an airport I'd never been to before, so I got to explore a little bit, and I love to do that. But I look at what you said, because you said you looked up.
oh yeah, I always look up.
Right, right. But you look up at the trees, you look up at the sky. Well, you and I are really short, so no matter what,
I'm always looking up.
we're always looking up. No matter if I'm gonna say hi to you, I have to look up, right?
Well, when you look at me, you look down. You could look down, but when I say hi to anyone, I have to look up,
Yeah,
except for maybe my
exactly.
dog.
Exactly. But what? I think those are some of the things though that really make a difference,
Yeah.
or really simple things. So let's give some really practical and simple tips. Like one of them would be, um, is just smile.
Yes.
Like what happens? How many chemicals and amazing things are dumped in you when you smile, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And oh my gosh, I was this morning when I was walking my dog, I was looking up at the sky, and I remembered what I told the whole group of people, and I was telling, and what my mentor says is that you can't frown when you're looking up.
uh-uh. So
Yeah,
good.
and I was like, "Let me try that again. Can I?" And I'm like trying to force it, and I can't, right? And
Yeah.
it's true, you can't. So look up,
So
and smile.
so good. I love it.
And and then you'll notice maybe there's a bird over there saying hi to you, or you could see, I don't know, I'm just making these things up, but there's, there's light that's coming through the leaves and it looks really beautiful.
You're
I
so
mean, you wouldn't notice it if you didn't look up.
100%. You're 100%. While you're talking about looking up, I just looked up and I'm like, why is my laptop like almost dead? I'm like,
Plug it in, my dear,
I know.
please.
We're
Oh
right in
my
the
god.
middle. I
So
know.
that's
Right.
that's one of the tips, definitely.
Let
Another
us
tip,
know. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that tip. Look up and smile. And
Mhm.
when you
Mhm.
smile, you also release so many chemicals that just make you happy, and
So
your
many.
brain is happy. And then you emit this energy
Right.
that is irresistible to other people and to animals too, because it releases this energy of love.
Okay, much better. I'm
Yes.
smiling. Well, you know what's interesting too, though, when you say animals, because
Hmm.
animals
Oh, they
have
sense
the
it.
same sense of, well, I mean, look at the animals that even when you're like when you're sad,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
they
yeah.
just want to love and snuggle you,
Yeah.
or because really all they want to do is just give you like this
Love.
love and right all these things. And but smiling is one thing. Another thing that people can do, I mean, these are just things to me that really give longevity: gratitude,
Yes.
smiling, journaling. You know, it's funny because I laugh a lot
Me.
at, and you and I, right? I mean, you do too. I laugh at, like, I hear myself laughing at something I see or watch, and then I laugh even more because I heard myself, you know? But it's that kind of stuff. It's like if you come from that lens of just absolute joy, like what do you really want in your life? And what do you have to do? Here's where you're at. Here's where you want to be. How do you shorten that?
Yep.
It's going to be a lot of it. You have to take action on certain things. Like you can't
Exactly.
just be lazy about it. And, I want to drop 20 pounds. Well, I mean, for me, I released 130 pounds. I mean, I gained it, and then I released it. Thank you. And I would say that even now, Nicholas has me on this thing, and he says, he's a black belt in a couple of things, but he's a professor of jujitsu. So I said, hey, I want to get back on the mats with you. Well, in order to do that, mom, you have to do this. And I'm like, ugh. But he's not wrong. And
Yeah.
so, and he said, once you do that, then come back and we'll do this. And, which is great. But again, I had to look at how long do I, the 120 years? What is it going to take to give myself the best opportunity, because it isn't about just being here for 120 years, it's
No, it's the
about
experience.
thriving.
Yeah, and I mean, the reason I wanna be here is because, like, for you, you want to be with your family, you wanna spend time with them, you wanna love on them, right? For me, it's to be with my tribe, my family.
Right,
Um,
right,
of course, my puppy's not gonna last that long, but that's okay, her spirit's gonna be here,
right.
and, but it's to realize my mission in life, right?
Mhm,
That's really important for me.
mhm.
Um, to make my mark on this life. I mean,
Yes,
it's not like I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I want to be like I don't know, some famous person, right? Like Oprah. I'm not saying I want to be like Oprah. I'm saying I want to make a difference in the lives that I touch.
100%.
And, it's not like I'm not gonna be an Oprah because I'm not an Oprah. But, it's whatever I can do to help other people
Right,
because, I went through my pain, which is, different pain with eating disorders and, dealing with I'm not enough personalities and all
right,
of that.
right,
Um, and overcoming that.
right.
And I know the pain, and I don't want other people to feel that pain as much as I did. I mean, listen, I want to say, like, okay, I'm 60, right? And, I'm like, part of me is like, oh, well, if I had known this earlier, I could have started on this journey a little earlier. But, I probably needed all the experiences that I had to have before I got here.
Right.
But I want to say to the people that are maybe in their 30s that are going through this, right?
Mhm.
Listen, heal yourself. That way you can enjoy more of life and really, do what matters to you.
Right, right.
Don't just keep on existing, live.
Right, right. Well, I mean, even down to what you do for work, what you do, how you show up every day. Show up for one, you know what I mean? Like show up in your own life
Yeah.
and get up and do things. One of the things I notice, like when I travel, just the different climates that I'm in, I see how they well, look what they do to my hair. I mean, the humidity is like, yeah, right. Like all of a sudden it's like, oh, Diana Ross, you're showing up a little bit here. This, what? But one of the things I do notice about it is how it feels in my body. Like
Yeah.
and I have to, like, today, this morning, after I ran a few errands and dropped the twins off, I went to the gym, and I knew how much time I had between the gym and to get home and to shower. And I had 2 interviews before this, our time. And
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, you know what, Cindy, you said it earlier. You made a commitment to yourself with your gratitude journal, like I do, and so I did the same thing. And it comes down to decision. You have to decide what you really want.
Yeah.
What do you want in your life? And how do you want to show up? What do you want to give? What do you want to receive? And where are you going to do that? And it comes down to making that decision. And are you really going to, for instance, you said it earlier, when you're having a disagreement with somebody and you're eating, and then you're not satisfied, and then you're whatever, and then then you get home, and then all of a sudden that bag of Oreos is calling you, and you're like, I'll just have one. And you're watching Netflix because you're zoning out, and you eat the whole freaking row. And then you're like, oh well, they're the thin ones, so I can keep eating a few more, right? Right. I know some of you on here know what I'm talking about. Or Doritos, like
Yeah.
those are
It's
another
like, oh, I might as well just eat the whole freaking bag.
whole bag. What difference does it make? I can go
Right.
to the gym tomorrow, right? Right. And
I'm sure. Yeah.
right. And but it boils down to this for me. When you make a decision of what you really want, the way to mitigate some of that stuff, because you can magnetize phenomenal, beautiful days, and you can still have something unexpected happen
Oh, yeah.
that might trip your wires if you don't do whatever you do to keep yourself connected, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So how do you mitigate that? Well, don't buy the Oreos.
Yeah. Out of sight, out of mind.
Right. Don't buy the Doritos. Don't make excuses to you know, have all that stuff.
Yep.
And again, it's about fuel,
Yeah.
right?
And, if you're really struggling, then instead get the minis. Yeah, easier said than done. Yes. But get the minis. That's what I was going to say. That's why I said get the mini size and get only one.
Right.
It's painful, but let me tell you, it sometimes when I have a hankering for chips, right? And sometimes I like these jalapeno. I love spicy, right? So
Me
I'll do like the jalapeno chips,
too.
and I forgot, was it Deep River? They had these really great jalapeno chips, and
Mhm.
they're potato chips, right? But if I buy the big bag, I know I could eat the whole freaking bag if I
Right.
really wanted to,
Oh,
and I
please.
know it'll be difficult for me to stop. So I buy the mini bags,
Mhm.
and it's mostly air, but it still satisfies my craving. Burn your temptation away, yes.
I love it,
But for me, buying the mini bags helps me because then I can at least satisfy that craving I had, or that, or else it'll be in the back of my head. I'll be like, oh, maybe I should go out and get that bag of chips, right?
right.
Or get that ice cream. That's, I love my Haagen-Dazs
I do.
Magnum caramel chocolate
Yeah.
ice cream. Yeah,
Yes, because we travel together, Airbnb, and buy the little boxes of them.
yes. Yes, and I was like, "Do you want one? Do you want one?" And I try to share it because I could eat the whole thing if I really wanted to.
Yeah.
Um, but then but it really satiates my hunger for that, the
Right.
smaller ones.
Right.
And think about this also. After a few bites, you're not really tasting the food.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Yeah, you have to remember that too. Because also, if you're watching Netflix and you're eating, you're not paying attention to what you're really tasting.
100%.
Yeah.
Well,
You're
here's the other thing too, is
Yeah.
how I I want to feel, like I said it earlier, you don't know how bad you feel till you feel good.
Yeah.
I want to feel awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And when I eat even a little bit, and it didn't used to be like this. And now if I eat just even a little bit of sugar, like I don't get like milkshakes because I know I'm toast. Like there's no way I'll finish it. It's a waste. When I eat a little bit of sugar, I feel like like I'm living in the land of suck. It's icky. I just feel icky, and my tummy's bugging me and all
Yeah.
that. And so I've started to pay attention to those things on purpose so that I'm always feeling, because the way that I want to show up in the world and what I want to magnetize to myself really boils down to joy.
Yeah.
I want to have joyful experiences. I want to connect with other joyful people. I want to bring love to you and joy, and I want to receive that. And
Yeah.
in order to do that, I have to be that.
Yeah.
Right. And that takes what? There's two words that a lot of people don't like, but they're important: discipline and consistency.
Yeah.
Those two words, like when it comes to the right, it's like,
Well,
and
yeah, those two words, I mean, even I cringe when I hear those words, you know. But so I try to say, these are choices that I make that are going to be beneficial for me. Because I don't know, because when I hear the word discipline, I think of I went to a Catholic school, right? So
right.
I
Oh
think of the
yeah.
nuns with the rulers and the chalks that get thrown at you,
Right.
and the little slaps on the wrists, and
Right.
things like that. But so that's why, I try to make it easier for me to digest those words. And I have to use the word digest. I don't know, it just came out. um,
Well, or consistency. Like, here's the thing with consistency, and I think you and I, if you're consistently thinking gratitude,
yes.
you will consistently see things that you're grateful for.
Yeah.
You will see your blessings,
Yeah.
and you will see things that you can celebrate every day.
Yeah.
When you're consistently going to the gym, or consistently going for walks. I will say this, Yayoi, because I've been around you so many times. I love New Yorkers because you guys walk so much. You have the best calves and the best, right? Because you're strong, but it's that consistency of
Yeah.
being out there doing that. All of you that have animals, you take your animals out multiple times a day. It's all of that, right?
Yeah.
And it's that consistency of doing that. I think the same thing applies with anything we do consistently. If you consistently get home and you're hitting the green and you're getting high and drinking, and doing whatever, you're going to consistently create those
Oh,
things,
yeah.
and you'll keep doing it. I mean, it's whatever we decide. Again, it boils down to decision.
Yeah.
What
Decision.
do you really, really, really want? Like,
Yeah. And what are you going to do to get what you really, really want?
mhm.
So, I mean, like you said, for me, um, the consistency is if you do it enough times, it becomes a habit, right? And it becomes an easy habit. So you do it unconsciously.
Yep.
So, for instance, I mean, there's silly things that I do unconsciously at this point because it's just become like a habit of mine. So it
Mhm.
could be like the victory pose when I get up, or it could be my wall push-ups when I'm doing it, when I'm waiting for something, or I'll be doing like leg lifts or
Right.
squats or whatever. And those are just tiny things that I do consistently
Right. Right.
because I also don't like wasting time. So while I'm waiting for something, like when I was at the office and I was waiting for some copy things to, process itself, I would be doing like lifts, just let
Yeah,
lifts
yeah, yeah.
with my calves, right? Just something simple.
Yeah.
And it's because, I might as well utilize the time.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and I can see, speaking of time, Eduardo just
Yes.
told us we have 2 minutes. I cannot believe, again, because you and I can sit and talk for hours. Like, we're 1 in the morning, we're on the phone. So I just want to thank you though for hanging out.
Oh,
And for just having this fun conversation with me. I hope that some of you can take away just even some little tips, tools, techniques, ideas. At the end of the day, what do you have to believe to create your victorious life? You can join us on both of our networks, which is super fun. Brain to Belly on Facebook. Find Yayoi. She's got amazing guests on her Facebook group and on her show, which is
Brain to Belly on the Spanglish World Networks, and it's on Wednesdays at
Yes.
11 a.m. Eastern.
Excellent. So you don't want to miss that either. The Victory Network Facebook, find us both. We're both there as well. And thank you so much. Thank you that you were here today. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check it out at spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thank you, Yayoi.